We welcome to the show Congressman Marsha Blackburn. Congressman, thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you, and welcome to Tennessee.
I read an editorial in Forbes that you wrote that I liked a lot. And apparently you are proposing a bill called the Stop TSA's Reach in Policy Act, a.k.a. the STRIP Act. Tell us what that is.
What we are trying to do is rein the TSA back in. You can look at so many things they're doing, and they really have overstepped their bounds. And here is where we get to the nugget. When you go to the airport to go through the TSA security track, when all this first started, you would see someone in kind of a work shirt with a patch on it, and they were there to kind of help you scoot through the machines. Well, as bureaucracies go, and this one traveled the path where they don't come to Congress to ask for permission to do something. They just do it through the rulemaking process. So one year they changed the screeners and processors who are there at the gates to calling them officers. And then the next year they took them out of the shirts with the patch and they put them into a federal law enforcement uniform. And then the next year they took the patch off the uniform and put a metal badge. And now that metal badge, when you look at it, says officer, and at the bottom of the metal badge it says Transportation Security Administration. The problem is this: these individuals have no federal law enforcement training.
Congressman Marsha Blackburn, reading your editorial, which we've posted to michaelberry.com, and I encourage folks to read it because you lay this out very clearly, some things I didn't know in there. You point out that 7 years ago, these folks were called airport security screeners. As you just said, that's all they did. But making them into an officer gives them what kind of power?
Well, now they have gone in and unionized these individuals as they are now called officers. And believe it or not, the largest federal law enforcement union is now your TSA quote-unquote officers who have no federal law enforcement training.
And you point out that you represent Fort Campbell, which is the 101st Airborne, the 5th Special Forces Group, the Army's 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, which piloted the Navy SEAL Team 6 during the raid on Osama bin Laden. And you point out that these folks have extensive training, and yet these screeners, these TSA folks, they have nothing.
You're correct. And see, when you were in the military, when you're a policeman, when you're in the highway patrol, you have extensive training, and you have extensive in-service training. And if someone were to find something at a TSA checkpoint, the screener or processor, who is now called an officer, would have to stop and call a law enforcement officer in order to be able to address the situation. So as we all are frustrated with the overreach of federal agencies, with the amount of money that they increasingly spend in areas where they have no authority to be taking the activities or spending the money, it is time for us to rein them in. And so that's why we filed the STRIP Act. We're doing great with our bill. We anticipate that there's going to be a hearing on it when we come back to Congress in the next couple of weeks, and we're looking forward to it.
Congressman Marsha Blackburn from Brentwood, Tennessee, you note if TSOs are truly our nation's last line of defense in stopping an act of terrorism, then the TSA should should immediately end the practice of placing hiring notices for available positions on pizza boxes and at discount gas stations, as they've been doing in Washington, D.C. That's true?
That is true. And this is how they have advertised for placement out at Dulles and at Reagan, is that you will see these notices to come apply for the job, either at the discount gas stations or you'll see them on pizza boxes. If you are going to be a federal law enforcement officer, if you're going to have that title, you need to have some extensive training and certainly be eligible for federal law enforcement retirement benefits. What we're saying is that is not the job that is there for screeners and processors. You do not need to have these individuals unionized, and you certainly don't need to have a title change to officer. They need to go back to wearing their golf shirts with the patch on it and be there to assist the traveling public, which is what the screeners and processors are supposed to do.
Well, and Congressman Marsha Blackburn, I get the impression that what you have is a lot of folks that couldn't make it in law enforcement. that desperately want to have authority over other people. And I think most Americans feel like Senator Rand Paul when they say, I feel less safe because of the TSA and these thugs now with badges who are fondling innocent American citizens.
Well, and not only the situation with any number of our constituents who have complained to us about the TSA, that's why we started investigating the issue in the first place, is because we were hearing from so many of our constituents. Everyone saw the video with Senator Paul, and certainly he and I have discussed these issues. But there are other issues we have uncovered time after time where there has been overreach and crimes committed from TSA officers, if you will, who are in their uniforms, flashing their badges. One raped a woman, assaulted a
right
woman.
before Thanksgiving.
You have all of this list of overreach and these occurrences that have happened, and we're just saying this is ridiculous. They are screeners. They are processors. They are there to assist the traveling public. They in no way, shape, or form are officers. So let's get them out of these uniforms, take these badges off, and approach this in the manner that it should be approached. You go through the screener. Individuals are there to assist. They are not there as an officer.
The TSA is totally out of control. Congressman Marsha Blackburn with a bill called the Strip Act to scale back some of this overreach. You note that in your own state of Tennessee, you note, quote, many of my constituents discovered this firsthand this past fall as those familiar blue uniforms and badges appeared on Tennessee highways. In October, Tennessee became the first state to conduct a statewide Department of Homeland Security visible intermodal prevention and response, which randomly inspected Tennessee truck drivers and cars. What?
Yes. You now have the TSA in these uniforms coming to a highway near you. And we have photographs that were sent to us and where you have these teams out at truck weigh stations and checkpoints, and they're out there inspecting truck cargo. Again, these are not officers. They are to be airport screeners and processors. And now these Viper teams, as they are called, are showing up on our nation's highways. Again, the overreach, this agency has quadrupled in size in the last few years. They have unionized 40,000 of these screeners and processors by changing their title to officer. We just continue to see the overreach and the encroachment that is taking place on this. And, you know, the thing, Michael, is they do not have the training for this. It is not their responsibility. It is not their job. Congress did not give them the responsibility. They have reached in and have taken it, usurped responsibility from trained law enforcement officers.